Tonight, the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect under arrest. The surprising end to a U.S. manhunt with global attention.
At some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse.
Plus, for political supporters and opponents alike, Charlie Kirk's impact on Gen Z. New questions for a Quebec company after a dramatic school bus fire.
They're checking buses for the safety of the kids. That's the most important thing for us.
A Canadian tennis journey on the court and off. U.S. Open champion, breast cancer survivor.
I feel like I took it in the best way that I could of like, hey, you have a great life, be happy for it, you know? You're one of the lucky ones.
Adrian's conversation with Gaby Dabrowski.
From CBC News, this is The National with Erica Johnson.
Thank you for joining us. The hunt for the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk is over. But tonight, the hunt for answers and a way out of the country's increasingly violent political climate has only just begun. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson has been accused of shooting and killing Kirk while the American conservative activist was speaking in front of thousands of students at a Utah university. Robinson was found after allegedly opening up to his family about the crime. But as officials celebrated his capture, Utah's governor pleaded with the entire country to put aside political violence and take a different path. What prompted the alleged shooter to choose this path is still coming into focus. Paul Hunter now on what we know so far.
In his mugshot, staring straight to camera, and then off to the side, there he is. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson from southwestern Utah. As State Governor Spencer Cox put it,
we got him.
Oh my gosh, he was just shot! He was just shot!
Arrested in the brutal killing of Charlie Kirk, the prominent conservative activist deeply allied with the MAGA movement of U.S. President Donald Trump. Kirk was shot in the neck and killed Wednesday at Utah Valley University in an assault that's reignited political fault lines in America. Robinson, say authorities, acted alone and has confessed to his family.
I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement.
Congratulations, you have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship.
Seen here in a video posted on social media some years ago, authorities say his family told police Robinson had lately changed.
That Robinson had become more political in recent years,
including an apparent dislike for Charlie Kirk and his politics. Police say they have a rifle found near the scene and bullet casings complete with inscriptions rife with online chat group and gamer references seeming to taunt their intended target. One example?
"Hey fascist!" exclamation point. Catch! Exclamation point.
The governor then spoke to what so many see as the broader issue in play.
We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence.
He called the killing of Kirk an attack on all of us, and he urged the country to step back from the ugly, increasingly violent politics of the moment. Last year's attack on then-candidate Trump, just one of a growing number in the U.S., targeting both Republicans and Democrats.
At some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us.
How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried about the border.
They're saying, we don't want these people coming in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers. We don't want you shooting our people in the middle of the street. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious and they're horrible.
As for Tyler Robinson, Erica, tonight he's being held without bail and reportedly not speaking with investigators. Official charges are expected next week.
And Paul, tonight we also heard from Charlie Kirk's widow.
Indeed, Erica Kirk made an emotional statement tonight live from the studio where Charlie Kirk produced his podcast. Her message, forceful and blunt. Here's part of it.
The evildoers
responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. In this world, you have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry.
The movement built by her husband, she said, will not die, underlining she will not let that happen. Erica.
Thanks for this. Paul Hunter in Washington tonight. Reaction to the shooting and the risk it exposed has been global, including in this country. Today, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre called for all possible protection measures.
I think we need to secure all of our political leaders, not just me.
He made the comments in a sit-down interview with Catherine Cullen, host of CBC Radio's The House. And Catherine is here now with more on that. Catherine, Poilievre got pretty candid about what politicians face.
Erica, like many politicians, the question of threats is a personal one, and it's public record that he, his family, have dealt with threats. I asked him whether this moment worried him.
I worry for my family. I'll be honest with you. We have had very serious threats to the point where the RCMP decided that it merited protection for my family and I for over a prolonged period of time. And they've been multiple, and they have been serious threats.
He said political leaders and ministers who face threats based on an RCMP assessment should get protection so that something like what happened with Kirk does not happen in Canada. Poilievre said he is not criticizing the government. The risk, he says, is real, and everything should be done to mitigate that.
And Catherine, you also talked about public policy, including energy and immigration, but something else really stood out for you.
Yeah, I've covered him for years. He has talked a lot about exporting more Canadian energy abroad, oil, gas, more. I have not heard him talk at length about climate change, so I asked him, does he worry about it?
Sure, that's why I'm so disappointed with the very problematic approach of the Liberal government, which has been to drive up energy costs and block projects from going ahead that would help the environment.
So are you an environmentalist, Pierre Poilievre?
Sure, you can call me whatever you like.
I asked him why he hadn't committed to hitting emissions reductions targets. He said that could be done if Canada could get credit for driving down other countries' emissions, though, Erica, at least one environmental group has said that is not how the global emissions system works.
Okay, Catherine, thanks for this. The House airs tomorrow on CBC Radio or wherever you get your podcasts. This dramatic scene sent emergency services scrambling in Montreal on Tuesday. No one was hurt, but 3 days on, thousands of Quebec students need new ways to school after the province pulled 1,200 buses off the road. These particular buses have had problems before, and not just in Quebec. Sarah Levitt has that story.
A dramatic, unsettling sight, an electric school bus engulfed in flames.
I looked outside and I saw a huge fire on a bus. So the front of the bus was burning. It was horrible.
5 kids were on board, but they're safe. The bus driver, smelling smoke, got them out. Transport Canada is investigating, but it's believed the heating system was to blame. 2 other buses, both from the same company, Lion, caught fire in the past year, one in Quebec, the other in Ontario. Now, Quebec's grounded all 1,200 electric buses across the province for inspection. This expert says Lion was once lauded.
It was a darling of the electric revolution in Quebec, Canada, and North America. And the reason behind that was that it was, at the time of its inception, a pure electric bus maker.
More than 2,000 Lion buses are on the roads in the U.S. and Canada, but recently it's been a bumpy road. In 2021, problems surfaced in Prince Edward Island's fleet of more than 100. The province scrapped plans to buy more. In the U.S., similar worries. Schools in Yarmouth, Maine hardly use the buses they bought in 2023.
Combined in the last 2 school years, they've been on the road for about 3 weeks, because they have constant error messages, critical battery failures.
In December 2024, Lion went into creditor protection with a group of investors then taking over. Some worry, though, the powerful images from the fires will turn people off going electric.
There are less risks to electric school buses catching on fire compared to their diesel counterparts.
In Quebec, the pulling of the buses led to hectic last-minute drop-offs and pickups for parents across the province. Many, though, didn't mind.
They're checking buses for the safety of the kids. That's the most important thing for us.
Lion declined interview requests, but says it's collaborating with bus operators and Transport Canada.
Now, Sarah, the majority of those Lion buses are in Quebec, but you mentioned PEI. What are other places doing following news of the fire?
Well, PEI says its buses will remain on the road, but with additional security checks. New Brunswick, on the other hand, is pulling 22 Lion buses from the roads, saying that it will do additional inspection. Meanwhile, the Toronto District School Board is getting set to launch its 5 Lion buses on Toronto Island and says it's going to follow all available security measures.
Thanks for this. Sarah Levitt in Montreal. Parents are calling for barriers to be installed outside childcare facilities after a child died and 6 others were injured when a car crashed into an Ontario daycare earlier this week. Ithel Musa looks at the possible barriers to change.
Outside First Roots Early Education Academy in Richmond Hill, Ontario, a makeshift memorial is growing. For some, the depth of Wednesday's fatal crash is still sinking in.
Unspeakable tragedy.
A 1.5-year-old boy was killed and 6 other children inside this daycare were injured when an SUV crashed through the front window. Now, some parents are calling for barriers to be installed in front of daycares to prevent this from happening again.
A lot of daycares are part of a parking lot, and these safety measures should be non-negotiable for all of them.
Driving past many different daycares, there's no pillars anywhere, and it's very easy for anything like this to happen.
Ontario's education minister is proposing restrictions to parking outside childcare facilities and saying, in part, our government will make any necessary legislative or regulatory amendments to municipal or landlord restrictions that currently prevent the installation of protective barriers. This childcare provider welcomes the move, but says her daycare can't afford to carry that cost.
We can't budget for putting in close to $20,000 worth of barriers to protect our children. That, in my opinion, is the government's responsibility.
It will stop a car.
Paul Jr. helped to install pillars known as bollards in front of this daycare in Laval after a bus crashed into it in 2023, killing 2 children.
I think the government has to come up with some regulation for the daycares to protect themselves, and they should help them out and pay some of the expense. It's a question of saving life. It's not a question of money.
A 70-year-old man has been charged in connection to the fatal crash in Richmond Hill. He was granted bail Thursday and will be back in court next month. Ithel Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
CBC News has learned that the Carney government will introduce legislation aimed at protecting places of worship, schools, and other cultural centres. As Ashley Burke explains, it comes after a 2-year string of attacks on mosques and synagogues.
Mosques vandalized, synagogues targeted, a Jewish school repeatedly sprayed with bullets, and just this week, an arrest for an alleged plot to blow up a mosque, adding to urgent calls for action.
I feel like I'm reliving the same nightmare over and over and over again. Each time there's another threat, another act of violence, we hear the same promises of change. And yet, here we are again. still waiting.
Jewish groups say they're waiting too after witnessing a dramatic rise in anti-Semitism over the past 2 years tied to the conflict in the Middle East.
Parents have been harassed, dropping their kids off at daycare, at school.
CBC News has now learned the government plans to table new legislation as early as Tuesday.
All Canadians must be able to get up, go to work, go to their church, temple, mosque, community center, and then come home and sleep soundly at night.
After protests and incidents outside places of worship, a source says the government is expected to propose new criminal offenses, making it illegal to intentionally intimidate or obstruct people from accessing certain buildings.
Think of a synagogue for the Jewish community, a mosque, a church, but also community centers, schools, or specific places that are designed specifically for a given community.
A source says there will be an exemption so people can continue to protest as long as it's legal. But the plan raises questions about what exactly crosses the line, while some question whether it will go far enough.
It's an important step in the right direction. It's not a comprehensive solution to all of the challenges that we face.
The Conservatives say they'll review the legislation once it's introduced, but add they've been calling for new measures that include protecting places of worship for 2 years and say the government failed to act. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
After one of its worst ever federal election defeats, the slimmer New Democratic Party caucus is looking to heal and reset. But with big debts and the loss of official party status, the road ahead is steep. Marina von Stackelberg got an up-close look at the early steps.
On a beach on Vancouver Island, Canada's New Democratic Party came to do some soul-searching. There's lots to talk about before members of Parliament return to Ottawa next week.
The NDP has to take a hard look at why our messages didn't resonate in the way that we wanted it to.
It's been a hard few months. After the party's worst election results in history, there's only 7 New Democrat MPs left, and there's internal wounds to heal. In recent months, infighting became public. At the retreat, the NDP brought in a facilitator, armed with art supplies, to help them work it out. It may have helped.
We're a good caucus and we get along and, we're having fun in there. We're really lucky. We have a facilitator in there.
I'm going to ask you all to stand up. This is the mighty federal NDP caucus.
The NDP now has to rebuild with a skeleton staff, campaign debt, and no permanent leader until March. Part of that is figuring out how to get back the voters they lost. Progressive voters, working class voters. Voters like the ones here on Vancouver Island. This was once an NDP stronghold, with the party holding 6 of 7 ridings. Now there's just 1 New Democrat MP left.
This is a moment. This is a moment where Canadians need the New Democratic Party. They need us more than ever, and the 7 of us are going to get everything we've got.
With Mark Carney moving the Liberal government further to the political right, the New Democrats see a growing space for their progressive voice on issues like Indigenous rights, climate, and labor. But with hundreds of MPs in the House of Commons, the question is whether these 7 will be heard. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Parksville, British Columbia.
There's a new development in a Go Public investigation. A former grocery store manager is now facing a criminal charge after a teenager was poisoned on the job.
This is potentially a lifetime injury for this kid, and that is tragic because it shouldn't have happened.
Why the teen's family says that one charge isn't enough. Next. Plus, she's Canada's 2-time U.S. Open doubles champion. Gabriela Dabrowski sits down with Adrian to talk about what's next.
How about a gold medal in LA in 2028?
Yeah, I mean, that would be incredible.
And the unexpected star ruffling feathers on the red carpet.
You know, sometimes some of the celebrities don't give you as much time as that pigeon did.
We're back in 2. A rare criminal charge stemming from a workplace injury has now been laid in Saskatchewan, nearly 2 years after a teenager suffered carbon monoxide poisoning. But advocates and the boy's family say there needs to be more accountability. Rosa Marcatelli now with the developments in her Go Public investigation.
This is then 14-year-old Will Kretenko, starting his very first part-time job at a co-op grocery store in Kenora, Saskatchewan, northeast of Regina, in 2023. Just a few months later, he had to be rushed to hospital with severe carbon monoxide poisoning after being told to clean a room in the meat department with a gas-powered pressure washer, meant for outdoors.
I started feeling lightheaded and dizzy. He was basically at death's door.
The Kretenkos say Kyle Kaiser was the one who brought the pressure washer into the store. Now the former manager has been charged with criminal negligence causing bodily harm.
Criminal charges like this have only been possible since the West Trade law was passed. It's supposed to hold bosses and companies responsible when workers are severely injured or killed. But 2 decades later, advocates say charges are still too rare.
They are rare. I think there's been a reluctance to hold people responsible, and that is shameful.
In this case, the family and workplace safety advocates say one charge isn't enough.
I believe that there was more people that could be held accountable.
That's partly because the day before Will was poisoned, another teen got sick the same way. Text messages provided to Go Public show that teen telling a different supervisor, "I passed out and I can't even stand or move." Yet Will was sent to do the same job the next day. Still, Occupational Health and Safety issued no fines, only ordering the store to make changes.
The added tragedy of this is that it was a 14-year-old. This is potentially a lifetime injury for this kid, and that is tragic because it shouldn't have happened.
Now 16, Will's family says he still suffers from headaches and memory problems. His former manager, Kyle Kaiser, will be back in court on October 2nd. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
The Toronto International Film Festival closes this weekend after featuring some boldly Canadian movies.
It feels nice to see Toronto for Toronto, or in this case, Barrie for Barrie and Hamilton for Hamilton.
Shining a spotlight on homegrown stories. Next. One-on-one with Gabriela Dabrowski. The Grand Slam winner tells Adrian why she decided to publicly share her cancer diagnosis.
You did keep it pretty quiet for a while. Why was that important to you?
And how Charlie Kirk helped shape Gen Z politics.
Charlie Kirk was hated by a lot of people and loved by a lot of other people.
The National takes you deeper into the stories shaping our world. Next. The Toronto International Film Festival wraps up this Sunday, closing with a Canadian film called Peak Everything. As Magda Gebrselassie shows us, this year, homegrown stories are really stepping into the spotlight.
Hollywood stars are used to soaking up the limelight at TIFF. But this year, Canadian stories are sharing the attention.
Well, you think what you want about me. I'm not changing. I like me.
From the John Candy documentary.
We had to do it somewhere close to home.
To Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
We're thrilled to be here at TIFF, right here on home turf.
This year, films set in Canadian locations were on full display. Attracting buzz, Blue Heron is set on Vancouver Island, while the reboot of the hockey film Young Blood highlights Ontario cities.
It feels nice to see Barrie for Barrie and Hamilton for Hamilton. It feels really personal to be able to be a part of stories where we don't have to masquerade our city as something else.
That's true for Mile End Kicks too. The film is about a music critic who moves to Montreal to write a book, but gets tangled up with love and life.
The more specific you write a story that's really about your own experience and kind of like the setting and the world that you live in, the more it's going to connect with people.
Everybody straight ahead right here, please.
But for her, it's paid off. She and others came into the festival with a deal secured. But other Canadian filmmakers are hustling to get their films picked up.
It's about to eat a whole lot of your budget. And so you have to make a conscious choice, whether or not you want to participate because you're one of, what, 250 films? It's going to be very hard to make some noise.
Make it yourself.
Taking a hands-on approach to marketing her flick is the director of Dinner with Friends.
We've definitely been fielding some interest and things like that, but not going too hard. I think we really understand the value of what this film is.
To each other.
She and her co-producer may keep the indie spirit of the project going. They're now considering distributing the movie themselves. Magda Gabrowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. As recently crowned U.S. Open women's doubles champion, Gaby Dabrowski knows all about winning, but it's her off-court triumph as a breast cancer survivor which may hold the greatest lesson.
Early detection was something that allowed, my situation to be easier to manage.
We go one-on-one with a Canadian tennis star, but first.
We got him.
Confirmation by Utah's governor that a 22-year-old suspect in the Charlie Kirk killing has been apprehended. That arrest came less than 36 hours after the fateful shot was fired. Eli Glasner breaks down the hunt for the suspect and his arrest.
We got him.
The capture of Charlie Kirk's alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, was a combination of old-fashioned police work, digital evidence, and critically, the intervention of the suspect's own family. Charlie Kirk was shot at Utah Valley University at 12:23 p.m. on September 10th. Investigators quickly secured the site and began gathering evidence. At 6 p.m., FBI Director Kash Patel shared on X, "The subject of the horrific shooting is now in custody." At 7:59 p.m., he said that subject had been released. Thursday morning, authorities began to put together the pieces. The FBI says the shooter was on the roof of the Lucy Center, 130 meters from where Kirk was speaking.
After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled.
The FBI also made an important discovery, a weapon.
It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled.
You can see the path of the shooter's escape here. Investigators also collected forensic evidence from the roof.
Footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
The FBI then released the first grainy images of the suspect and posted a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the shooter. Thousands of tips flowed in. Thursday evening, the FBI released new enhanced images and a video showing a person in black running across a roof, climbing down and crossing Campus Drive. The same evening, the suspect's own family changed the course of the investigation when, according to reports, Robinson's father recognized his son from the FBI photos.
A family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
Investigators interviewed Robinson's family members, learning Robinson had become more politically engaged and had spoken about Charlie Kirk.
The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had.
Investigators also spoke with Robinson's roommate and photographed messages on a Discord website from a contact named Tyler, including an exchange about a weapon.
Messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel.
With the aid of the CBC's Visual Investigation Unit, you can see in this video and still from the FBI's rooftop video the suspect carrying what appears to be a long covered object. At 10 p.m. local, Tyler Robinson surrendered himself at a sheriff's office in southwest Utah, 33 hours after the deadly shooting that shook America.
In the wake of the Kirk killing and subsequent arrest, Utah's Republican Governor Spencer Cox made a plea for unity in a country divided by political views and sliding down a slippery slope of violence.
I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places anyway. And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. You are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option. But through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different path. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now.
Charlie Kirk sparked strong opinions across the political spectrum, both energizing and dividing the young audiences he mainly spoke to. Gen Z is now reflecting on the man and his violent killing.
It is absolutely devastating. And I don't say that as somebody who agreed and disagreed with his views. I say that as a human being.
What? I thought you hated the guy. Yeah, but just because I disagree with the guy doesn't mean I believe he deserves to get shot.
Far right, far left, who cares? Right? Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. That is freedom of speech in this country. You don't need to agree with it.
This is a person who, through his rhetoric, perpetuated harm.
Praying for his beautiful young children who will grow up without a father, but they will have videos of how their father was fatally shot that will live on and haunt them forever. Impossible to scrub from the internet.
We should not be desensitized to witnessing death. This is not content. This is not entertainment. This is trauma being broadcasted and consumed like it's nothing.
If you want to end gun violence, it is something that you can never celebrate. It is always disgusting, always vile, and always abhorrent.
To discuss how the killing of Charlie Kirk is affecting Gen Z, I'm joined by Elena Moore, a reporter covering youth and politics for NPR in Washington. Thanks so much for joining us, Elena. First off, wanted to get your take on Charlie Kirk's popularity with Gen Z. Why do you think he appealed to some in that generation?
Well, I think it's important to remember how he became who he was. You know, he came of age over the last 10 years during a time kind of alongside President Trump. Charlie Kirk started Turning Point USA, the organization that this conservative youth organization, he started it in 2012. That was a time when it was, I think, fair to say, less popular to be a young conservative. And he wanted to find a kind of a space for young people on college campuses to organize. And that has, you know, in the last 10 years, gone from being what was seen then as a fringe movement to fairly mainstream alongside President Trump. And I think Kirk was in many ways a young MAGA leader for a lot of people that maybe voted for President Trump, but needed a little extra help connecting with him. I think Kirk was a link for a lot of people and a more accessible one. He was very, he had a huge following on social media, tens of millions of followers across, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And so, I mean, his platform was huge and he created this big network.
Okay, and with that huge following, you have reported how some of those young conservatives are now reacting to Kirk's death in the last few days. What have they told you?
Yeah, I mean, people are heartbroken. It's a really, striking moment because Charlie Kirk was hated by a lot of people and loved by a lot of other people. I mean, I talked to a member of Congress, a Florida Congresswoman, Anna Paulina Luna, who she credits her career to Kirk because she came up through his organization, Turning Point USA. And so I think a lot of people are just feeling, in their words, like very heartbroken. And it stands really in stark contrast to the other side of the aisle, where there are a lot of people who found Kirk incredibly divisive and often, saying very deeply offensive things.
Now, one of the striking realities of this story is that so many young people watched the video of it on their phones, even if news agencies censored it. What do you think the impact of that will be?
It's such a hard question because I think for many Gen Z Americans and young people around the world, young people have been exposed at a very early age, this generation particularly, to these really tragic, often traumatic events. And so I'm going to be watching to see, does this tragedy, this assassination galvanize people to get more involved, or rather, does it scare people from sharing their views? And then on top of that, does it not make much of a difference because of the cycle that we're in and the amount of horrific things that young people are seeing really every day online?
So many layers to this story. Thank you so much for your time on this today.
Thank you.
Coming up, for Canadian tennis star Gaby Dabrowski, 2 is always better than 1.
I feel like the skills that you learn playing doubles are something that you can carry with you for the rest of your life.
A one-on-one with the recently crowned 2-time doubles champ. Next. For the second time in 3 years, Canadian Gabriela Dabrowski and partner Aaron Routliffe are crowned doubles champs at the U.S. Open.
Let's hear it for your 2025 U.S. Open Women's Doubles Champions.
Between those 2 wins, a tough year for Dabrowski, temporarily sidelined by a breast cancer diagnosis.
I had a really good medical team behind me that helped me return to the sport quickly.
Since that cancer diagnosis, swinging a tennis racket has taken on new meaning for Gaby Dabrowski. Adrienne Arsenault sat down with the Ottawa native to hear how she's playing with a new perspective.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love the sounds of 2 times U.S. Open doubles champion. What does that change in your day-to-day?
Well, hopefully it doesn't change too much, honestly. Like I like the routine that I have now, but I am really proud of the fact that we are 2-time Grand Slam champions. To do with Aaron is amazing. So yeah, I'm really proud of us.
Still all smiles. A point away from victory now. It's out! And they've done it! What a wonderful moment!
And when you win like that, is that jet fuel? Does that push you to say, okay, now I want to get this?
A little bit. I would say for me, my goal would be to claim some kind of title at Wimbledon, whether it's women's doubles or mixed doubles. Wimbledon is the elusive slam for me.
How about a gold medal in LA in 2028?
Yeah, I mean, that would be incredible. I don't know if I want to play until 2028. Some people do.
I see you looking at your coach over there.
Yeah, some people do, but we'll see. We'll see how the body and mind feel, but if not, yeah, I'll be happy in retirement.
You talked about your body again, and if we look at like 2023 and 2025, the year in between 2024, aside from sort of the beauty of a bronze in mixed doubles, right, at the Olympics, 2024 was a jerk to you.
Tough, yeah. I mean, honestly, obviously the cancer diagnosis was very challenging, but I came back to the sport pretty quickly. I had a really good medical team behind me that helped me return to the sport quickly. Sort of tailored a little bit of my treatment so that I could compete in the Olympics, put off radiation until afterwards. So I was lucky in that sense.
You don't ever, I mean, nobody ever owes anyone else a conversation about their own medical stuff. But you did keep it pretty quiet for a while. Why was that important to you?
Going public with the information too soon felt like very overwhelming to me, especially the first 4 or 5 months. There were still a lot of questions that had to be answered, and I didn't feel equipped to be able to handle that type of attention, I guess, that could come from sharing my diagnosis. But then as the year went on, I also had this inkling of like wanting to share information, because early detection was something that allowed, my situation to be easier to manage than had there been a spread. And just at the end of the year, I thought, you know what, let's go into 2025 and share this news, and maybe it'll be able to help someone. And fortunately, I got a lot of messages saying like, oh, I've been putting off my mammogram, or, oh, I did feel something, but I didn't really want to, pursue going to the doctors because I was scared, but now I am going to. And so that was the impact that I wanted to have, is for it to be a positive one for other people. And I think it's done that, so I'm happy about it.
Did something about having it and going through the treatment surprise you? Like, did it change your sense of self a little bit?
I would say the interesting part early on was just that, until the first surgery, I could still train. So I'm still like playing tennis as if nothing's happened. But then you go through the surgery, and then you have to go through the recovery. And then as I was recovering and coming back to tennis, I just felt very grateful that I was able to be on the court. One of my coaches in Florida, Pat Dasick, was helping me adapt certain drills. He was tossing the ball for me because I couldn't lift my left arm high enough to toss the ball on my serve. So all those things just meant a lot to me, that everyone was kind of rallying for me. And when I started competing again, I still kind of maintained that perspective of gratitude and feeling like tennis was something that I got to do versus something that I had to do. And I mean, yeah, people will tell you it's not always been like that. It's been, I haven't always had the best attitude regarding my tennis. So cancer was certainly, a kind of almost like a slap in the face to me. But I feel like I took it in the best way that I could, of like, hey, you have a great life, be happy for it, you're one of the lucky ones.
And that hangs on?
It does, hangs on.
I love how when you say you haven't always had a great attitude about tennis, again, you looked at your coach.
Yeah.
She knows, coaches
she knows,
know.
Yeah.
What do you want people to understand about doubles? Because look, we don't spend enough time talking about doubles.
Yeah, I think in doubles, you learn so many great skill sets for even outside of tennis. I feel like the skills that you learn playing doubles are something that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. It's how you manage someone else without micromanaging them. It's how you problem solve with another person. I think that those are skills for life, and I wish that that side of doubles was shown more and valued more, because I do think it's super helpful.
How many times in your career have people said, so what about singles? Why don't you try singles?
Well,
what do you say to them?
I did, and it was very lonely. And if, for a long time I didn't have the financial backing to be able to work with a coach full time, only a couple weeks here and there out of the year, and that's not enough. Doubles was kind of my way of trying to fulfill those dreams. And along the way, I just preferred trying to master the craft of doubles, improving the way that I work with someone else. I have such a great team behind me that it's just so fun to try to improve my doubles game now.
Let's hear it for your 2025 U.S. Open Women's Doubles Champions.
It's working really, really well
Thank
for you.
you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much.
Congrats.
Thanks a lot.
And you can watch more of Adrian's conversation with Gaby Dabrowski on our YouTube page, including why Dabrowski calls the controversial new rules for mixed doubles at the U.S. Open heartbreaking. Up next, a red carpet surprise at the Toronto International Film Festival.
This bird just flew right into my frame, sort of right on the carpet, and then I started grabbing my cameras and took its picture.
The moment a star is born. Next. Let's take a moment for this pigeon caught strutting on the red carpet at the Toronto International Film Festival. Carlos Osorio was there to photograph the stars, but he says when the bird landed, he just knew he had to snap a picture, and tonight, it's our moment.
This bird just flew right into my frame, sort of right on the carpet, and then I started grabbing my cameras and took its picture. Right behind me is where the celebrities arrive. So there's another red carpet there that they walk onto to get to the original, to the main carpet. And that's where the pigeon landed. So it was sort of strutting on the pre-carpet to the red carpet. For me, having the news background, I quickly realized, hey, this is an important kind of moment, you know, a fun, levity type of moment at TIFF. I never think about photography in the sense of, is this going to go viral? I just always try to make the best picture I can. I did think that it would, you know, land well with people. I was able to get about 13 photos of it. The first ones was just the bird against the red carpet, and then I think a few near the end where I did it vertically to try and get the TIFF logo in it as well. I've done TIFF for a long time, and you know, sometimes some of the celebrities don't give you as much time as that pigeon did, to be honest with you. So the pigeon was just kind of happy doing its own thing, and I'm happy I got the 6 seconds that I did with it.
Those are quite lovely pictures of a pigeon, and it's not the first time one of Osario's photographs has gone viral. Earlier this year, he took this pic of Justin Trudeau leaving the House of Commons, taking his own seat, which is apparently a parliamentary tradition. So clearly, this photographer has an eye for a moment. For everyone here at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Erica Johnson in Vancouver. Take care.